Welcome, yoga friends, to your Find Your Focus yoga class. Today we're going to be focusing on finding our focus, our gaze, using a focal point. In the yoga tradition, the Sanskrit word for focal point or gaze is your drishti. So in traditional yoga, there are 9 drishtis. And today we're going to talk about what that means. So when you're on your mat, we want to find a point to focus on. And when you do that, it allows you to let go of all distractions. I had a yoga teacher once tell me that if you don't know what you're gazing at, you'll gaze at anything. So as we turn inward to our spiritual practice and focusing on Christ, if we forget that He is our focal point, then we'll get distracted and focus on anything. So go ahead and come to a comfortable seated position, Sukhasana. If you do have blocks and strap nearby, you can grab those for this practice, but it's not necessary. And go ahead and sit up nice and tall, ground down through the sits bones. And I would invite you to go ahead and bring your hands to your heart center. Sitting up nice and tall, we close the eyes. We press the palms together. And we press the thumbs at the sternum. And then just begin to notice the breath without trying to control the breath at all right now. Soften the jaw. Bring your awareness to the very top of the breath through the inhale, and then all the way to the bottom of the breath as it travels down. Now notice as you sit here, the mind will wander, and that is normal. And our job in yoga is to simply be aware. Be aware of where your thoughts are going. And getting comfortable with where you are in your practice today. With your eyes closed, shoulders down and back, I want to read you a scripture from Matthew chapter 6, verse 22. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single to the glory of God, thy whole body shall be filled with light. Focus on that focus of thy eye being single to the glory of God and being filled with light. Now bring your left hand to your belly, right hand to your heart. Slightly tuck the chin. And let's begin to stretch the breath. So we inhale through the nose, we fill up the belly, the chest, all the way up to the collarbones, and then we exhale through the nose, creating that audible sound. Inhale and fill up. Exhale and release through the nose. Go ahead and bring your hands back to your knees. Let's go ahead and take our shoulders up by our ears, and then we're going to bring them forward and down and around. So big circles with the shoulders going in one direction. And then you'll pause and go in the other direction. You can keep your eyes closed right here. So you're in a very grounded position. And then set your shoulders still, shake it out. Let's go ahead and circle the rib cage. So take the rib cage to the side and then around to the front and to the other side, and then back. As you go back, feel the spine around the chin tuck, and then go over to the side again. So these big circles with our rib cage, almost like stirring or mixing a big pot. Listen to the sound of your breath. Pause and go in the other direction, rib cage circles. And then sit up nice and tall. Let's move the spine side to side. So bring your right hand down to the floor, fingertips just touch the floor, and then the left hand reaches to the sky. Now begin bringing the left fingertips over to the right side. Keep the left sits bone on the floor. Keep the shoulder drawing back. Now where is your jirsti? Take your jirsti up beyond that left tricep. And still use the breath. Coming back through center, we drop the left fingertips to the floor. The right hand reaches up and over. We bend into that left elbow. We keep the right sits bone on the floor. Notice that you're creating length from that right hip up to the bottom of the right rib cage. And back up through center. Go ahead and round through the spine, tuck the chin, almost like you're gonna roll back onto your back, holding onto your knees. And then when you're ready to inhale, draw the sternum forward, lift the gaze, take your gaze out in front. And then as you exhale, round the spine. These are seated cat and cows. Inhale, draw the chest forward. Exhale, round the spine. One more time as we reach forward. And then we come back. Sit up nice and tall. Butterfly pose, Baddha Konasana. We bring the bottoms of the feet together. Knees are out to the sides. Take your fingers to the tops of the feet, the thumbs to the arches. Elbows draw next to the rib cage. And then just start bringing the chest forward, and we're opening up through the hips. Soften through the hips, allow the knees to fall out to the sides. And then lift yourself back up, windshield wiper pose. So we're gonna bring the bottoms of the feet to the floor. Our knees are pointing up. Bring your hands back behind you, lift the chest slightly, and then take the knees over to the right, and then back through center, and over to the left. And go back and forth 2 or 3 times at your own pace. We're just waking up those hips, noticing what's going on for the hips today. One more time each side. Back up through center, and we move to a tabletop pose. So bring the feet around to the back of your mat. We're gonna plant the hands. We spread the fingertips wide. Now it's really important here that we don't dump into our shoulders. So if you're collapsing like this, we wanna draw the chest up. So we do that by pressing into the hands. And then we wanna engage the low belly, tucking the tailbone, and now your gaze is directly down at the floor, just from the tip of your nose. Take a moment here to find that focus, soften through the jaw. We're going to move to a balancing tabletop. Send the right foot to the back wall. We flex the right foot, toes are pointing down. Your right hip point and your left hip point are even. Now draw the left hand forward. Draw the fingers close together and your palm is facing towards the right. Your gaze is still straight down from the nose. Now bend into the right leg and reach the left hand around and connect with the inside arch and the top of the right foot. Now you're going to press the right foot into your hand, and we've engaged the back body. We're having a back bend right here. Now you can take the gaze forward. If that feels unstable, go ahead and take your gaze back down to the floor. And release the foot. Left hand comes to the floor. Your right foot is going to kick over to the right side. Your toes are facing forward. Now this is where you might want to use a block. You don't have to, but place the block on your left side. Walk your hands over to the left side, and either on the block or on the floor, you're going to open the right hand up to the ceiling and take your gaze up past the right fingertip. Now from here, you're going to follow your gaze if you can, or keep the gaze up. You're going to reach the right fingertips over to the left side. Now if you're on the floor, hand on the floor, reaching the fingertips, you can even take your gaze to the floor, to your fingertips. Now bring that right hand back to the floor. We're going to line up those hands just like we were in tabletop. Right foot stays over to the right side. We're going to thread the needle. So our left hand is going to thread underneath the right armpit, reaching to the right side. You're going to drop the left shoulder to the floor. The right fingertips can crawl forward. And your gaze is over to the right. Use that audible breath, especially when we're in twist. Sometimes when we're in twisting positions, we feel a little more restriction in the breath. So allow it to flow still. Bring the right hand back underneath. We bring that left hand back to the floor, and the right knee comes back in. We're back to neutral tabletop. Go ahead and shake the hips side to side. Releasing that side, and we'll go to the other side. Left foot now extends to the back wall. You flex through the left foot. Press through both hands so we're not dumping, remember? And then our left toes are pointing down to the floor. Find the gaze, the focal point, and reach the right fingertips forward, fingers together. Palm is facing over to the left. Find this steadiness in this balancing tabletop. Then bend into the left leg, reach the right hand, grab the inside arch and the top of the foot. Now press the left foot into the hand, and as you do that, we feel this nice back bend. And then release the right hand back to the floor. The left hand or left foot now comes over to the left side. You can use that block over here on the right side or not. Your choice. Walk the hands over to the right. Either using the block, and remember the block has several sides. You choose that side. Left hand reaches up to the ceiling. Find your gaze. And then reach the left fingertips over to the right side, shifting your gaze to your new point if you'd like. Feeling that nice side body stretch now on the left side. And bring the left hand down. We're going to bring both of our hands back under, but we keep the left foot extended out to the left side. We're going to thread the needle. So the right hand goes underneath the left armpit. That right shoulder comes to the middle of the mat. Right cheek comes to the middle of the mat. Left fingertips crawl forward. And we use that audible breath. And bring the left hand back and unwind. Right hand plants and the left knee comes back into the center. From this tabletop position, we're going to transition to a downward facing dog. So tuck the toes under, send the hips back over the heels, and then lift the knees. Hips go high to the sky and then shift back. So our heels come close to the floor. But that's not necessary. If you're up higher, that's totally fine. But what we're looking for is a capital letter A shape with our body. Let the head hang heavy. Now go ahead, this first downward facing dog of your practice today, go ahead and move through the legs. So pedal out the feet. So we bend into each leg, bringing each heel to the floor. Now press through the knuckles of the hands and press the floor away so that we're not dumping into the shoulders again. We always want to protect the shoulders. Ujjayi breath in and out through the nose. And then let's walk to the top of our mat. So you can just tiptoe, you can heel toe. We're just going to make our way up to our hands and then a half lifted chest. So we lift our chest, our gaze is down at the floor, and bring your hands to your shins. So as you bring your hands to your shins, draw the sternum forward, reaching the crown of the head to the front of the room. And then as you exhale, go ahead and fold, spill over the thighs. You can have a nice bend into your knees. Go ahead and place the backs of the hands on the floor. You can round through the arms and drawing the elbows out towards the sides. Now let the head hang heavy. Maybe just move the head around. Now bend, a nice bend into your legs. Reach the hands out to the sides and let's come all the way up, reaching the hands up overhead. You can take your gaze high. Slightly tuck the chin, hands reaching overhead. Now bring your hands together, palms touch, and bring your hands through heart center. And then down to your sides, Tadasana or mountain pose. So reset. Everybody look down and notice that your feet are directly underneath your hips. Hands next to the body, your shoulders are down and back. And we're going to inhale, sweep the arms back up. And this time we're going to swan dive down. So we bend into the knees and we just spill over our thighs and we come back to that forward fold, head hang heavy. Inhale and half lift. So lift the head. And then from here, we're going to grab blocks if you have them and want to use them. Otherwise, you'll just step back from here. So blocks, not necessary, but if you have them, that's great. So from this half lifted fold, we're going to step the left foot to the back of the mat. So this is a low lunge position. Now let's go ahead and straighten through the front leg and flex the front foot. So you're drawing the right toes back towards the body. Hips are square to the front of the room. Hands can be either on the floor or on those blocks. It can be up higher if you have on the tall side of your blocks. Now come back into that low runner's lunge. Now we want to drop the left knee to the mat. So left knee goes down and then bring your hands to your knees and then just playfully bounce right here. Just really gentle. We want to start noticing these hip flexors on the left side. Engage the core and draw the tailbone down. Now setting yourself still. Go ahead and bring your left hand to the outside of the right thigh and then your right hand reaches back and your gaze follows the right fingertips. If this twist is too much, just stay right here at that thigh or you can even stay forward. One more breath in the twist. And then we're going to come back around and this time we're going to reach our hands up overhead, gaze goes high. Fingers are close together and your thumbs are drawing towards the back wall. Bring your hands down to the floor or to the blocks. Lift the left knee. Spin the back foot down to a 45-degree angle. We're lifting up into a warrior one. So our hip points stay square to the front of the room. We reach up. Shoulders are now stacked over our hips. We're sending energy out through our fingertips. Our gaze is high. And warrior two, we open up the hips to the left side. We reach through the fingertips to the front and the back of the room. Now sink a little lower into that lunge and look down and make sure that that right knee is directly over the right ankle. Gazing over the fingertips. Reverse warrior. Reach the right fingertips forward. Then flip your palm and reach for the back wall while your left hand goes down the back leg. Side angle pose. Your right forearm comes to your right thigh. Chest is open over to the left side. Left fingertips reach up. Now your gaze can be down at the right big toe for more steadiness. If you're feeling steady, take your gaze up beyond your left thumb. Now bring the left hand down. We're going to open to a wide leg fold. So we're coming over to the left side of the mat. Our toes are slightly in, our heels are slightly out. You can use your block. And then go ahead and fold, or you can stay up high. If this works better for you today, stay right there. But if you would like to fold, go ahead and walk the fingertips back. So the fingers should be facing the forehead. And then let the head hang heavy. This is such a nice inversion. Pressing through the feet, but feel like you're drawing the outer thighs towards the center. Inhale and lift up to a flat back. Use the block if you'd like, or just the fingertips. We're gonna sink into our left hip. So left toes go out to the left side, and we're gonna just sink down into that left side. Right toes, pivot on that heel, point the right toes up towards the ceiling. Now you might be higher, and that is wonderful. Maybe you go a little lower, getting deeper into this hamstring on that right side. Now you can be supported by your hands on the floor, or you can bring your hands to heart center, lifting the chest. Now find your gaze. And then we're going to walk back through center, lifting yourself up through that wide leg position. Now we're going to go over to the right. So right toes go out to the right, and we sink down. Left toes pointing up towards the ceiling. We sit down, finding your breath and your focus. Lifting back up through that wide leg fold. And we're going to make our way back to the top of the mat. So if you took that block over there, bring it back to the top. Low runner's lunge. Now right here, we're going to hover the chest over this right thigh. We're gazing down at the right big toe. We sweep the hands back, shoulders down away from the ears. We're engaging the back body, looking at the right big toe. And bring your hands back to the block. Step the left foot forward and forward fold. Let the head hang heavy. Round through the arms, backs of the hands on the floor. Again, bend in the knees if you need to. No need to overstretch those hamstrings. Listen to your body. Lift up to a half lift. Hands come to the blocks, and we step the right foot back. We're to the other side with that left foot forward. Low runner's lunge. Go ahead and straighten through the left leg, flex the left foot. Our hip points are lined up and facing the front of the room. Bend into the left leg and drop the right knee to the floor. And sit up and bring your hands to that left knee and playfully bounce. I want you to just notice and bring some awareness to the hip flexors on the right side. Now we're going to add that twist. So the right hand goes to the outside of the left leg, and we start rotating the chest over to the left. You can stay right here. If you want to add that arm, take the left arm back, reaching to the back wall, taking your gaze over the fingertips. And come back through center. Hands reach overhead, reaching those thumbs towards the back wall. So you're bringing your triceps back behind the ears, taking your gaze high. Now bring your hands back to the blocks or to the floor. Lift the right knee, spin the back foot down to a 45-degree angle. We draw that right hip point forward, and we lift up to a warrior one pose. Now engage the low belly, sink into the posture, ground down through the feet, press to the outer edge of that right foot, and then warrior two. So we open up the hips to the right, gazing over the left fingertips. Fingertips are reaching to the front and back of the room. Sink into that lunge. Reach the left fingertips forward. Flip the palm. Now reach the left hand to the back wall, and the right hand goes down the back leg. Find your focal point, perhaps up at the ceiling beyond that left tricep. Side angle pose. Our left forearm comes down to our left thigh. We keep the chest open. The right hand reaches up towards the ceiling. And then we take our gaze. We choose either down at the left big toe or up beyond the right thumb. Bring the right hand down. We go to that wide leg fold. So if you want to bring the block with you, all 10 toes facing the right side now. Toes slightly in, heels slightly out. And then if you want to go ahead and melt down into that fold, you can. You can walk those hands back. Our arms are at 90-degree angles. So we're drawing those elbows slightly in, so we're not dumping them out to the side. We're stacking the elbows over the shoulders. Now let the head hang heavy. Maybe shake the head yes and no. Lifting up to a flat back. Let's go to those side lunges. Right toes go out slightly. We sink into that right hip. The left toes point up towards the ceiling. Maybe the hands stay on the floor. Maybe they come to heart center. Other side, move back through wide leg fold, and we go to the left side. So left toes out, heel in, we sink down. Right toes are pointing up, so you're on the back of that heel, and then you choose, do we want the hands down in a supported position, or do we want the hands at heart center? Find your jirsti. Bring the hands down, lifting up. We're gonna make our way back to the top of the mat. So bring that block back with you to the top. Low runner's lunge. So we're going to do that hovering chest over your thigh. You're gazing down at the big toe. We sweep the hands back, engaging the back body, using the strength of our triceps to push back, engaging the low belly. And then we bring our hands back to the blocks, step the right foot forward, back to our forward fold. This time let's go to a Padangusthasana, so big fingers come to our big toes. Draw the elbows out towards the side and fold down, release the tension in the neck. And release the peace fingers from the big toe. Lift up halfway, bring your hands to your shins. And one more time, fold. Now we're gonna root down through our feet and we're gonna start rolling up one vertebrae at a time, coming to Tadasana, mountain pose. We've been here once before. Sweep the hands overhead and bring the hands through heart center. We're gonna practice some balancing postures. So we wanna set ourselves up with our feet underneath our hips. Shoulders are stacked over hips. We stand up nice and tall. We draw the sternum forward, shoulders down and back, starting with our hands at heart center. Now find something that's not moving out in front of you. Your focal point, letting go of all distractions. So our Drishti brings us inward, letting go of distractions, checking in with ourselves. Now bring your hands to your hips. So we want to hover the right foot off the floor. So we're going to ground down through the left foot, right foot hovers 1 inch off the floor, and then we want to go ahead and, like a pendulum, swinging back and forth. Now we keep with our Drishti, and maybe it's down at the floor, maybe it's up a little higher. We're just practicing that focal point. Back through center, right knee comes up towards your chest. Hands wrap around the knee, and we flex the right foot. Feel yourself grounded down through the left foot. Tree pose. So if you want to bring that foot way up high, or maybe you're right here, either place is just fine. Bring your hands to heart center. The right knee is drawing out to the right. And then reach the fingertips overhead and take your gaze high. And bring your hands back through heart center. Release that right foot wherever it is on the inside of that left leg, and go ahead and shake that out. And we'll move to the other side. We'll start with our hands at heart center again, Tadasana. Finding a focal point. And then bring your hands to your hips. Hover that left foot off the floor, grounding through the right foot, and then just swing that foot back and forth. We have this hip flexion and extension motion in the hip, and we're working on our balance as that's moving. And then when you're ready, single leg Tadasana, we bring that left knee up, hands wrap around the left knee, flex the foot, lift the chest. Where's your gaze? And then move to tree pose, whatever that looks like for you today. Maybe that left foot is on the inside, top inside of that right leg, and maybe it's down low, maybe it's at your calf. Wherever you are, return to heart center with your hands. And then if you feel steady, go ahead and bring the hands overhead, taking your gaze high, lifting the chest. And bring your hands back through heart center. Both feet go back to the floor and go ahead and shake it out. And we're going to return back to the floor. So let's come to a seated position on our bum. We're actually going to extend the legs long on the mat. This is called Dandasana, or staff pose. We flex the feet. So you're bringing your toes back towards the body. We sit up tall. We ground down through the sits bones. And then we're just going to spider crawl the fingers forward while bringing the chest forward. So pretend like there's a string right here on the chest and it's just drawing forward. Now we want to keep the crown of the head lifted, chin slightly tucked, hinge at the hips. So you've been in this forward fold position several times, but now we're doing it seated. Now go ahead and just melt down, drawing the forehead towards the shins. You can drape the shoulders over the legs. Lifting back up. Right foot comes to the inside of the left leg, Janusharasana. Go ahead and sit up nice and tall. Right knee out to the right side as if you were in a tree pose, right? And then start walking the fingers forward. And again, melting down in that same way. Maybe the hands hook around that foot. Maybe the hands are on either side of that front leg. And lifting back up. Go ahead and take that right foot and cross it over the left leg. We're going to have a spinal twist here, so we ground down through the sits bones. The right foot, it's at the same level as the knee right here. And the bottom of the foot is on the floor. Take your left arm and wrap it around that right leg, squeezing that right leg into your chest. Now take your right arm and bring it back behind, and we're going to twist. We're revolving the chest over to the right side, twisting. Now gaze, take your gaze back behind that right shoulder. Keep the left foot flexed, left foot is active. And release. We'll just go ahead and shake out those legs, extending both legs forward. Setting the legs still back to our Dandasana pose. So seated, forward fold. So flex the feet, draw the chest forward, spider crawl those fingers out, leading with the chest. And then you'll get to the point where you can't go any further. And at that point, go ahead and round down, softening down. And lifting back up. Left foot comes to the inside of the right leg. So imagine that tree pose again. Flexing the right foot. Shoulders are squared over that right leg. Spider crawl the fingers out, forward fold, opening up through that left hip. Soften. Draw that low back forward, melting down. And then find that perfect edge of the pose for you. And lifting back up. Left foot comes across. Line that foot up with the knee. The left knee is coming into your chest. Right arm wraps around. We start rotating the chest over to the left side. Left hand comes behind, and your gaze follows behind that left shoulder. Now again, flex the right foot. Again, these twisted positions, sometimes we cut off the breath, but go ahead and take as deep a breath as you can in the belly and exhale it out. Soften the jaw, soften the shoulders, and come back around and release it out, shake it out. Now we're going to make our way onto our back body. So bend into the knees. Hands come to your hamstrings, start rolling all the way down onto your back body. And as you get down, go ahead and bring your knees into your chest. Create circles with the knees. Go ahead in both directions. Big circles. So we're massaging out the low back. And then from here, go ahead and extend both legs long on the mat. Hands on either side of the body. Palms facing up. Take your heels to the outer edges of the mat. All the work of all the poses is done. Now it's time for rest as we come to our final corpse pose. Soften across the brow, down through the jaw. Release the tongue from the roof of the mouth. Soften the neck and the throat. Soften the shoulders and down through the arms. Let the belly be soft. Hips relaxed. Relaxing through the legs and the toes. Shavasana. You can stay right here for as long as you would like. Or you can begin wiggling fingers and toes. And rolling onto your side body. Pressing yourself all the way up. Coming to Sukhasana, easy seated pose. Bring your hands to heart center. Thank you for sharing this practice with me today. The light in me honors the light in each of you. Namaste.